Ayan na. Welcome back dito sa pinaka medyo ito talaga talagang kahit anong oras or kahit anong araw hinahabol natin 'yan. Ito guys, meron na tayong updates within the day. Buyaka siya. President Marcos Jr. is thoroughly studying, reviewing, no? At tinitingnan itong budget. Dahil sa lahat ng mga scandals, controversies, whether ito yung issue ng AKAP, whether ito yung issue ng PhilHealth. So it looks like President Marcos Jr. has heard the voice of the people. Speaking of the voice of people, of course, kanina guys, eto na, nag-live na dun sa YouTube channel natin kaninang 1 p.m. Etong analysis natin with Sir Ronald Llamas and Justice Carpio, 'di ba? Itong first ever RRC, all of us together. And thank you again to Justice Carpio for so kindly accommodating us. Baka naman in the future also kung wala kaming mahanap. And baka naman, Cafe Romulo, thank you for your invitation at sana next time hindi puno. At magagawa rin natin dyan sa Cafe Romulo para mas social, mas historical. So ito guys, the president has heard the voice of the people. Buya ka siya, pag-usapan natin ito, review of the budget, what are the things we can expect, and ito mga 11th hour horse trading, or some would even say secret deals, grand bargain or compromise na potentially ginaganap behind the scene, guys. So hello again from Solid North. Speaking of Solid North, shout out naman dyan. Congratulations to our beloved cousin, Dr. Rojim. Parang ano yan, little sister natin yan. Isa siya sa aking, sabi na lang natin, second favorite cousin kasi. Ayan, sige nga. Beshi ko yan. Isa sa mga beshi natin yan. Si Rojim at of course si Alan Lee. Congratulations guys for sealing the deal. Puya ka siya. Ito na, lumaki na naman yung pamilya natin. And thank you also to, my goodness guys. So 'di ba kagabi hanggang alas midnight tayo 'di ba nagbeta. Tapos after that diretso sa Baguio. 6 a.m. Diretso na sa shooting dun sa mga grooms. So halos wala tayong tulog. So go lang tayo dahil na mahal natin itong mga taong to. Tapos kanina nag-usap tayo with the groom. 2 a.m. pa sila. But what I'm saying is that at least I don't know if they were sleeping before, but in our case, halos diretso na tayo over the past 24 hours with power naps in between. So I really suggest yung mga tao na medyo workaholic, yung mga tao na multitasking, mga tao na marami mga commitments, learn to do power naps. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's better than not sleeping at all, right? Learn to power nap kasi ito yung gawain ng mga tao sa military, sa Navy, sa Special Forces, and mga high-flying business people. In our case naman, mga humble, sino naman tayo, isa lang naman tayong vlogger, sige na nga magpakabait na. Sino ba naman tayo? Sino ba naman tayo, 'di ba? So of course with all of the travels all across the world. And kasi because I'm going through the galleries and photos na pansin ko, oh my god, thank Lord. Ang dami natin napuntahan throughout the year. From and fantastic from meetings with senior officials in Tokyo in January, to visit across Japan, Nagoya, Okinawa again later in the year, to visit to Berlin, of course, meeting well, ex-chancellor na ngayon, Scholz, visit to Thailand, to India, to New Zealand, to The Hague, to Amsterdam, to Espanya. And speaking of Espanya, of course, congratulations! Buya ka siya din sa ating cousin, kapatid nung isa. Kanina nag-propose na rin, so pwede na tayo humingi ng discount dyan. sa, alam na, Ilocano style, baka pwede package deal niyan, 20% discount na dun sa gagawin na next year. But anyway, yan, sabi ni sa executive level vlogger. Guys, again, just to remind you, may mga day jobs po tayo. Wala lang naman, mga small time lang naman, medyo nagtuturo lang ng na sa graduate level sa, National University natin, medyo nagsusulat lang naman all around the world. Wala naman tayong ginagawang But yeah, executive level vlogger. Sa sobrang executive, na-miss ko yung flight ko on the way back on New Delhi. At ang mahal ng i-replace, kaya na lang tayo. Nag-economy na lang tayo pabalik. So, grabe yung papalik ko from India, my goodness. So, nawala yung business class ko na hindi ko naman binayaran yan. Bayat yan ng, by the way, shout out also to Ananta Center and the External Affairs Ministry of India for the fantastic invitation. It was a great event with some of the greatest thinkers in the Indo-Pacific region, with Foreign Minister Josh Shankar, with the Finance Minister, and dami mga galing. So I was super, super thanks. But speaking of pabalik, my goodness, pag hindi ako makapasok dun sa seat ko dahil dalawang senior na hindi makatayo. So I don't know, from all the seats nilagay ako sa gitna. So I really don't know where to sit. Sana nag-sit ako sa mga bakante ka. So anyway, mahabang usapan, nakabalik tayo sa Pilipinas, mahal na mahal natin ng Pilipinas. At of course, isa mga reason na kailangan ko rin bumalik sa Pilipinas ay dahil habol sana tayo dito sa wedding na ating cousin. So congratulations. Congratulations, super proud of you. Obviously guys, alam niyo naman, we're still reeling from the loss of Lola, and thank you so much for everyone who has been praying for Lola, Lola's soul. And I mean, honestly, I can't even believe these words. Like, I'm talking about Lola's soul already. I just feel she's still around, you know. And thank you so much for your prayers and support to cope through the process. To be honest, I'm not sure nag-sink in pa. So, ang fear ko is tatak ng ng Christmas, medyo magsisinkin talaga na wala na si Lola. So, to be honest, kanina parang trying to, at the same time, of course, embrace the moment. At the same time, also you can feel the gap. So Lola, wherever you're, sana proud ka pa rin sa akin, kahit executive level vlogger lang naman tayo, sabi ni Dennis Esper. She had higher hopes for us than executive level vlogger. Pero base naman sa Wikipedia, hindi lang tayo Filipino YouTuber. Medyo Filipino political scientists, Filipino television media people naman tayo. But anyway, that's what we appreciate with what we're doing. Now, going back here, guys, marami tayong pag-usapan. But we have to keep it short because I have to catch up with some rest. And then tomorrow, sana tuloy-tuloy ito. And then, good news guys, Friday and Saturday, we're going to be joined by two of the leading scholars. And I'm not exaggerating. This is not some Donald Trump greatest. Hindi. This is legit. We're going to be back with mi mentor, mi sensei, Walden Bello, Dr. Walden Bello, one of the most celebrated progressive thinkers in the world, by far one of the highest Google Scholar citations by any Filipino scholar of person of Filipino descent. Sobrang low diyan. At of course, on Saturday naman, God willing, kasama naman natin live from the West Coast, Professor Vicente Rafael. Vincent, isa na naman yan sa mga pinaka the best na historians, period. And of course, one of the great historians of the Ilustrado period. Ang dami natin pag-usapan. So, akala nyo, yun na RRC, RMC, no. Yun lang yung local version natin, guys. And as I always said, hindi tayo nagyayabang. But one thing that I always felt we bring to the table here, even though, alam ko marami nagbabash sa ating Konya accent, even though nainis yung tao na papyaw-hapyaw tayo kasi di nila maintindihan yung Socratic process, kahit di nila alam na may mga seryoso tayo. But whatever. One of the things that makes me really proud about this little show we have here. Little show. It's still a humble corner, but you know, thanks to you, we're reaching a lot of people. Shoutout pala dyan sa mga meta fan natin na meet natin kanina, yung mga the greatest doctors and professionals dito sa Baguio, among others. Thank you also. I really feel heartened whenever I see, you know, all of these great fellow Baguio people, great fellow Filipinos all around the country. Kasi napansin ko the difference with being a vlogger and also from being in mainstream media is that dun sa mainstream media may pagka-prof, ang parang may distance. Pero pag nung naging vlogger na tayo, bigla napansin ko medyo mas comfortable ang tao sa akin. Oh, bro. Parang minsan hindi ko alam pag lumalapit, wait, magkakilala ba tayo, kameta lang to? So I really feel good na people feel so comfortable with us, no? So pasensya na kung medyo bardugulan tayo, but at the same time, even though we have bardugulan here, we bring the greatest minds in the world, or at the very least the greatest Filipino minds. No, actually we bring also one of the greatest minds in the world. And as I said, you know, the other day, please check out the interview natin with my good friend Dr. Azam Sheikh, talking about the Syrian revolution from an insider view. Of course, earlier this year, we had interviews with leading experts on the United States, including some people who could end up in the Trump administration as we speak. Most likely, alam ko na ng mga departments yan. And then, obviously, guys, you know, I hope you really appreciate ito yung mga ina-arrange natin kasi mga bigatin. Alam mo, in the scholarly world, right? You know, these people that are interviewing, these Filipino great scholars, wonderful scholars, you know, the kind of perspective they bring to the table is really something special. And I hope you guys also appreciate it. I know, nakakatuwa na pakinggan ng mga political analysts and pundits, lawyers, legal experts. That's one thing. It's great. I have nothing against that. I do that myself in my own little way. But ibang klase pa rin yung mga talagang established historians and established social scientists, leading sociologists and social scientists. And yes, actually, as we speak, I'm consulting with Leloy. I'm giving him some tips because, God willing, fingers crossed, Lelo is gonna also do more regular podcasting. I think in my own little way, siguro naman na-inspire natin yung mga ibang kaibigan natin na academics to also engage the greater public. I know he has wonderful students, wonderful colleagues in University of California, Berkeley, easily one of the best universities on earth without a question. Fantastic program in history and Southeast Asian studies. But brother Leloy, get the message out. More people need to hear from you. Not only your great students there, of course. So I'm glad that so don't worry, yung mga nagsabi na saan yung collaboration niyo with Lele. Well, something even better. I'm pushing for Lele to do more of daily analysis. So hopefully he can put things together. So as I transition hopefully to jiu-jitsu, hopefully he will transition from jiu-jitsu to more podcasting because this is an extremely energy consuming work. Honestly, guys, if you want to do this every day, you want to edit, you want to upload, just uploading that video with Ronald and Justice Carpi the other day took us 2.5 days. In fact, the final version of multi-camera is still not done yet. It's still loading and uploading and all of that. So matrabaho talaga yan. So your support is always very very important for us dahil may mga day jobs din kami, di ba? Kaya nakita ko yung may isang nag-comment, parating mo kang pagod si Richard Dayton. Walang niya ka. Siguro pagod siya dahil ginagawa niya ito after his day job. So magpasalamat ka pa, di ba? But anyway, baka mabash pa tayo. Let's go back to this discussion. So if you listen to yung thorough analysis natin, and I'm not gonna rehash it, I think Justice Carpio did a very, very good job of analyzing na ang pinag-usapan, for instance, in the PhilHealth is not, right, is not excess funds. We're talking about reserve requirements. Just like banks, institutions are supposed to have a certain level of reserve requirements. And it's to ensure sustainability, to ensure may buffer sila. And now with some senators, alam natin, they treating that reserve requirement essentially or buffer fund as an excess fund, ay may problema na talaga tayo. May problema na talaga tayo. And then you have the ACAP issue, and then you have the slashing of the DepEd budget, and then you have the DND budget, also something we have to discuss. Actually, hopefully we'll get a couple of really high-level experts on security also on our show. Thank you so much again, guys, dun sa mga nanat sa atin at saka sumuporta sa atin, guys, dun sa mga ginawa natin, panel talk with our folks, our good friends, sila, Don McGill from LaSalle University, Miko Galang from of course National Defense College of the Philippines. I really appreciate those things. But so hopefully I'll get guys. So hopefully, guys, we will get something like we will get na naman nagtatroll. Get a life, guys. Alam mo, pinapaaway-away mo pa kami. Pare-paras lang naman yung mga sources namin. Anyway, in a sense na meron kaming think tank, alright? We have an unofficial think tank. Kami ni Ronald, kami ni may ilang kami na may mga sila, common intelligence source kami. So, please lang, alright? Okay, anyway, we're on the same boat, or at least, rowing the same lake. Now, going back to this, guys, so hopefully we'll get also a couple of defense experts to really break down yung D&D budget at anong implication nito, guys. So one of the persons I want to actually interview is the spokesman of the AFP. Fantastic person. So we're looking also at interviewing people from the DND and the AFP among others, or at least experts on that, to also break down yung DND because malaking issue at malaking implication nangyayari sa budget hearings pagdating sa ating West Philippine Sea and national security interests, right? Now, going back to the budget issue in general, may recognition po si Pangulong Marcos Jr., ang Tigre ng Norte, na kailangan pag-aralan itong budget na to at mukhang dami nagagalit. So actually, President Marcos Jr., kanina lang yung itong update na ito, has been set to hold a series of meetings. Hindi lang isa, a series of meetings with different cabinet officials. Kasama ito doon sa extensive review of yung proposed 6.352 trillion pesos na 2025 national budget, guys. Malaking bagay yan. My goodness. I mean, this is huge amount of money, right? We're talking about dozens of billions of dollars here, right? Ito ay ayon kay Presidential Communication Officer, Acting Secretary. Hindi pala final si Cesar Chavez. Interesting. I thought he's already final. Okay, anyways, I don't want to get into that. Okay, acting secretary pala si Cesar Chavez. Okay. Ito ay after si Pangulo Marcos Jr. actually acknowledged following a meeting with Executive Secretary Bersamin, Finance Secretary Ralph Recto, Budget Secretary Amana Panangdaman, NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, and and Public Works and Highway Secretary Manuel Bunoan. Lahat kasi sila sabi na, sir, mukhang kailangan natin pag-aralan na mabuti to dahil may mga may mga gaps, may mga controversies at may mga seryoso implication na to para sa ating bansa. So ayon kay actually Cesar Chavez, Presidential Communications Office Acting Secretary, we're not yet ready to announce the details, meaning marami pang kailangan pag-usapan. We're not yet ready to announce the details. May mga susunod pang meetings. There will be a series of meetings with some cabinet members para i-finalize ang recommendations nila to finalize to finalize their recommendations. The thing kasi is may veto power yung president. The president actually has a veto over the budget. Now, constitutionally, if you have a sufficient number of the legislature, they can override the president. But as things stand, especially with the alignment of the Congress and significant amount of people in the Senate, I don't think na you'll have a situation whereby the Congress will try to override the veto of the president. And I think the president, if he's going to exercise the veto, he knows that that's more or less the final one. So there's going to be some discussion around that. So ang pangako ng Executive Secretary Bersamin, dating Chief of Justice, is that magkakaroon ng rigorous and exhaustive review ng 2025 GAB or General Appropriations Bill. Alright? Magaganap ito sa December 20. Alright? So Friday, right? That's Friday if I'm not mistaken. So Friday this week, before the end of this week, magkakaroon talaga ng masinsinan. So we have to watch out, guys, in the coming days, guys, we have to watch out for some updates on how the president will lean on this issue of budget. Dahil pag tinignan mo yung mga spontaneous, let's say, commentaries by the president or relatively spontaneous commentaries by the president, or at least his public statements by the president, minsan hindi mo alam talaga what the heck is going on. So for instance, dun sa statement ni President Marcos Jr. The other day, parang hindi ganong ka-clear. And this was raised by my colleagues on One News TV5, sila Sean Yao, the other day. By the way, check out Safe House is also on One News right now on YouTube. You can watch it for free. Pinag-usapan namin na parang there was an expectation by BBM to draw the line, especially dun sa issue ng, I would say, even DepEd. Bago lang si Senator Angara dyan, ang daming kababalakan nangyari sa DepEd. Alam natin na kailangan ng suporta ng DepEd. So, you would have imagined that actually the low-hanging fruit for the president is to say something on the DepEd issue and to come out kind of like the hero, right? And then, obviously, also yung issue ng PhilHealth. Medyo masakit sa ulo yan. I think, budget experts, a lot of them are good friends out there, have broken down the issue significantly. But nevertheless, I think President Marcos Jr. was also expected to say something about also ito sa PhilHealth issue. And then, I don't know, about the ACAP. Okay, anyway. So, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I'm yet to hear a significant, sige. Honestly, I'm yet to hear talaga a decisive comment by the president that he's gonna, for instance, restore the budget of the the Department of Education, or push it much closer to where things need to be. In fact, yung isang problema also sa Department of Education is how do you calculate? So, dito nakikita natin na accounting techniques, constitutional mandate of the Congress, power of the purse, all of these things, they interact. So sometimes actually legislatures, they can be creative in terms of counting ano ba talagang budget lang ng, when you say education budget, for instance, sa ating saligang batas, the education budget should be mas mataas sa DND, mas mataas ka. But how do you calculate the education budget? Is the education budget just the budget of the DepEd, or also does it include other relevant agencies na may kinalaman sa education? Because kung sinama mo yung mga relevant agencies, then maybe things are closer to where they should be, constitutionally speaking. But if you understand it strictly in terms of budget of the Department of Education, and that's more or less what Angara, Secretary Angara, and former senator, and the budget guy in the Senate, the fiscal guy, the fiscal expert guy in the Senate, but the idea is that no, actually it should be the budget per se of DepEd, that we're looking at here. So many interesting developments, guys. So far, it looks like the president is again hedging. To be honest, I mean that's the nicest way I can put it. President Marcos is hedging. Just let's just listen to, um, you know, the president, just for you guys to hear it on your own, especially on the issue of education among others. I mean, in fairness, naman, maybe I'm in the maybe I missed one press conference, but I want you guys to check it out. Ito.
STEM development of our educational sector, and then the continuing development. So we're working on it to make sure that we will restore it. We'll have the discussion with the BICAM essentially and the leaders of both houses.
Okay, so actually I missed pala this part. In fairness here, so the one I was saying is from the Monday pa. So sorry, actually on Tuesday or something. In fairness, the president naman use the word "will restore it." But again, how much details will we restore it exactly at the level, right? Ito. This is more. Ito ba yung latest pa?
This direction also inspires the
Actually, kanina, I'll post it also. There's still some statements coming out from the president. So I hope, again, I'm trying to be fair, di ba? Kasi ayaw magsalita kung in fairness naman sa president, may sinabi naman siya, di ba? Di ba? Um, so use the word restore, but again, we can debate about does restoration mean exactly as exactly at the level that the DepEd is asking for, or is it some compromise between what is being proposed and what DepEd is looking at, and then harmonization with constitutional requirements at saka yung issue ng ano ba talaga yung budget ng education. So you know what I'm saying, um this is typical BBM, but nevertheless, in fairness to him, he still used the word restore. In fairness to his cabinet, at least, Bersamin, he has mentioned itong issue ng rigorous and exhaustive review. So, fingers crossed, let's still hope for the best na magkakaroon ng correction dito. Kaya nga may veto power yung presidente. Kasi binoto natin itong presidente na ito. May mandato itong presidente na ito. And the president can also check and balance, right? The legislature. It doesn't work just one way. It works both ways. So we always talk about the power of the Congress to scrutinize, to fiscalize, to check and balance the president, the executive, but actually it also works the other way. The veto power of the president, ito rin yung kanyang kakayan para magkakaroon ng intervention or correction kung sa palagay ng ating presidente ay medyo may mali nangyari o may kababalagan na nangyari. Of course, ang konteksto po dito is paparating ng elections at alam natin na marami dyan ay concern nila, in terms of budget alignments and budget allocations. Ano mag-iepekto ito pagdating sa election expenditure, the whole ayuda culture, whatever, right? So mahaba, pinag-usapan na natin yan. So I think this is where it's very important for the president to really come in and exercise his veto if it's necessary, or negotiate. I mean, pwede mo naman i-veto, and then while you're vetoing it, kausapin mo rin yung bicameral at sabihin mo, ito na, itong final version ng gusto natin. Hopefully, we arrive at this. No need to escalate and try to overdrive my veto or something like that. Although, of course, you can always become cynical and say, basta ako veto ka na yan. Bahala na kayo. If you force this and override my veto, it's on you. Diba? Bahala kayo dyan sa backlash. Hands off ako dyan. But honestly, I'm less worried about the president not exercising veto or proper scrutiny dito sa mga controversial part ng budget for 2025 than him not moving in the right direction on the bigger question. Because as we speak, yung isang, let's just call it allegedly, okay? Again, so kaya watch very carefully, guys. Watch very carefully, guys, in the coming weeks and months if yung position ni Martin Romualdez is safe. Because there are some reports which suggest that and I want to talk about Machiavelli here, right? We always talk about the good Machiavelli, of course, half sarcastically and all, but obviously, if you want to do really Machiavelli beyond the Prince and look at his other works, actually Machiavelli has a lot of not very Machiavellian things to him. But anyway, I don't want to get too pedagogical about it. Balikan natin itong issue na to because some are suggesting na baka magkaroon ng compromise as part of a grand bargain or reconciliation. And that the centerpiece of this compromise will be the change in the leadership of the Speaker of the House. To be honest, right off the bat, I'm very skeptical of that. Right? Very skeptical, not in the sense that because believe na believe ako sa, but it's because I know how important Martin Romualdez is to the president, hindi lang dahil pinsan niya. And I also know how big will be the implications if ever there's a change in leadership of the Congress. But nevertheless, I'm not going to rule out this possibility that the leadership in the Congress will see some change as part of a grand bargain between the House of Marcos and the House of Duterte. Speaking of Machiavelli, one of the things you learn from Machiavelli, good things you learn in terms of realistic understanding of politics, is that if you are a smaller player, right, always make sure that you have a voice in the table of this decision making rather than ending up as part of the menu, right? So if you read works of Machiavelli, for instance, he talks about how small Italian states, if they don't get their act together, of course, he was talking about his beloved Florence, among others, if they don't get their act together, maging part sila ng mga bargains ng mga higanteng powers. Katulad ng Espanya at Pransya nung panahon niya, 'di ba? We're talking about essentially early or just pre-Renaissance period, no, or late medieval period. So actually I always kept that in mind that if you're not a major player and then mainit ka, marami kang ginagawa, and you get into the middle of a fight between the giants, always make sure you don't end up on the menu or as part of the compromise because that's the nightmare scenario. That's really the nightmare scenario, especially kung nakasalalay yung essentially your political future, mga other things dun sa um, sabihin natin na, 'di ba, discretion ng one of the big powers, right? And we always talk about it in geopolitics, right? That one of the scary things that could happen, although I doubt it will happen, is that Trump will essentially make Taiwan, or who knows, even us probably, as part of a sacrificial lamb in a grand bargain with China. Of course, at least that's a fear that everyone's openly talking about. But actually, at the level of the Philippines, that's interesting. One thing we have to worry about is we don't end up on the menu. If ever there's a grand bargain between Trump and China, I doubt that. But again, you have to be careful. You have to prepare for the worst. But the other thing we also have to look at here, guys, is that baka yung speakership could be sacrificed as part of a grand bargain kung saan essentially the Dutertes and the Marcoses will bury the hatchet. Again, I'm skeptical, but honestly, I won't be totally surprised. If you remember yung mga back and forth discussion natin with Secretary Ronald Llamas, no? Last year pa and all. Sabi ko, yes, we're crossing the Rubicon in many ways, but at the same time, if you have a combination of Dutertes who are willing to go berserk and burn down the house, right? Parang, I won't go gently into the night. If pipilitin niya, let's burn it all down. And then you have a president who at least seems to be indecisive, or a president who seems to be thinking na sa daming problema ng bansa, we cannot afford this. And literally that's what he said on the impeachment issue. Whether he meant it or not, the reality is that may track record eh. May track record ng dividends, to be honest. Or at least track record na not drawing the line where he should draw the line. And, on a lot of issues, the needle has moved. Whether on the ICC cooperation issue, on the impeachment issue, or whatever. But, the pace is not the most reassuring indication of, eto na, meron na tayong isang, fox and lion in the same person. I don't know. Pakinggan nyo na lang ibang pundits. But from my point of view, I won't be surprised if part of BBM, will do that again. So all I can say for now is watch very carefully what could happen in the Speaker of the House position, because if a change happens there, then that means most likely a deal has been struck. And most likely, hindi lang goodbye with impeachment of Sara, goodbye with any kind of accountability despite all of the piatos and all of that. And for me, actually, if you look at it, should we even be surprised if that scenario happens? Now, having said that, of course, that scenario has a lot of risk of its own because, you know, parang hirap makita na magkakaroon din ng complete reconciliation. Things are not gonna go back to zero, right? There's a lot of bad blood already, not only between, the main protagonists, but also their supporters. But let me also add this point na the lesson also here is very clear. Dun sa mga tao na gusto nila ng accountability, gusto nila may pananagutan yung ibang tao. Yung ibang tao na gusto nila na we avoid the worst for our country. And at least we put the country on the right map. Or the right path for that matter. Make sure you don't end up as on the menu, right? And actually, personally, I'm not invested in the fate of the current Speaker of the House. I'm sure there are many people who love him and will love him forever. But actually, I'm also worried for other people who are putting themselves really on the front line on this issue. A couple of them we have interviewed here. Whether it's Senator Trillanes, whether it's Congressman Percy Sendanya, right? A couple of people have been sticking out their neck there and have been really invested dito, no? And even Ronald, buti nga si Ronald walang Twitter or anything like that. Wala siyang sariling channel, but I'm sure if he had that, lalong he's gonna attract, bad attention. I'm just saying, you will also wonder ano mangyari sa mga tao na who are really invested in this, and then what if hindi mangyari to, and what if in the end magkakaroon ng blowback sa kanila yan. So this is really the tragic nature of politics. Again, this is very speculative at this point in time, but I'm just saying it's really not improbable. It is not improbable. So let's watch out for that. And at the same time, I also hope yung ibang tao who did stick out their neck, right, and are invested essentially in this train towards correction on the Duterte question, I hope they're also prepared for an eventuality whereby actually not only nothing happens, but maybe even a secret deal or reconciliation could be considered. Again, hindi ko sinasabi yun na nangyari. So mag-Ronald Llamas, hindi ko sinasabi yun na nangyari. But honestly, I won't be totally surprised. The same way I was not surprised that Trump won, right? Okay. Anyway, because if you're BBM, it's so easy to make an excuse. We cannot afford it. Look at nga yung budget nga, ang dami natin problema, DepEd, ganon, ganyan. I don't know. On that note, thank you very much guys. Baka may sasabihin na naman tayo na mapapahamak na naman tayo. Tapos yung mga henyo na naman dyan, ang galing-galing mag-analyze. So go ahead. Bukas kayo sa sarili ng account or something. Anyway, thank you very much guys for this fantastic discussion. Again, yun ang ginagawa natin sa podcast natin. I don't give you final answers most of the time. Very rarely I tell you this is what we should do. Because people who understand how the world works, specifically how complex systems operate, whether it's your body and how it deals with nutrition and all, whether it's societies and how 1,000 different variables interact to create an outcome, all I can say is this. The least I can pass down to you guys is a certain degree of critical thinking. And also, we want to make sure walang element of total surprise. And that's why we're having these kinds of discussions. Hindi ko sinasabi na mangyari ito, but I'm saying the probability is no longer 20%. The probability is maybe even 50% at this point in time for this scenario to happen. And that I won't be surprised at all na all of this will end up with a whimper rather than a bang. All right? On that note, thank you very much guys again, and please continue to support us dito sa ating mga podcast, Spotify, Deep Dive. Tuloy-tuloy lang supportin para momentum lang tayo. I know papunta na tayo sa end of the year kasi so nagte-transition out of the politics tayo. Yes, I'll try to post also some yung mga hindi ko na-edit ng mga videos and all from the travels and all of that. But I hope we set the momentum right so that next year, God willing, we can start on a strong note and we can push for really, really more in-depth analysis ng anong nangyari sa ating bansa. And I'll tell you what, I'll be honest. I know we just have a humble voice. Sino ba naman tayo? Pero alam ko, in our own little ways, we are also moving the needle. Actually, I know that for a fact. All right. On that note, thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon.